Hi everyone, welcome once again to Root Access, and on Root Access we always want to try to answer your questions. I've got Jamie DeGrazio here, former Mac genius, to do that. He will answer. You send it in, he will answer. Whether it's Mac, iPhone, iPod,
Life, just general dating advice.
Oh, gee, no.
Financial advice.
Just send it in
Stocks.
to root@thedigitallifestyle.tv. I'm going to summarize a few questions we've gotten the last few weeks here because they're all kind of in the same vein. And that is, one of the most frustrating things to try to get fixed at the Apple Store, at the Genius Bar, is an intermittent issue. Whether it's a computer shutting down or a lockup. So tell us at first, if someone comes in with an intermittent issue, some of the steps the geniuses go through, and then I want to talk about what consumers can do to kind of prep or try to help troubleshoot the issue. So someone comes in, they say, my computer intermittently shuts off.
Yep. Well, I mean, certainly those sort of problems are the most frustrating for the genius, usually as well. Typically, if it's something that we haven't seen before, something's randomly shutting down or randomly freezing, I mean, the first thing we're going to try to do is gather as much information from the user as far as what they're doing, what they're running, what their setup is. And then we would try to, I mean, depending on how busy at the bar is that day, I mean, sometimes we'll try to do those things right in front with them and see if we can quickly recreate it. If not, you know, there are times when we'll check it in and try to recreate it. You know, in which case we can just run applications overnight. We would call it like a stress test, where we like launch everything. You know, especially if it's something, if it's a freezing or like a shutdown issue.
Okay.
Quite often you can look into the system logs if it's like a shutdown issue. If it's power related, you should be able to see a record of that.
What else can I, like, if it's a shutdown, let's say, at home, will the Apple hardware test help me at all?
Well, it could. Probably not for a shutdown, but if you're having like random freezing or lockups, you know, Apple hardware test doesn't test everything, but sometimes it will find, you know, faulty RAM or faulty video card or video RAM. So that's something we would recommend you run, you know, before you come in if you're tech savvy enough to do that.
Okay.
We would certainly run our own diagnostic disk that does a little more things. You know, another thing a customer could do is, we've had people bring like screenshots if it was some sort of graphic distortion, or we've had even people record audio or take pictures with their cell phone or their camera or a video clip of the computer just freaking out, video going weird, and then showing us the clip. I mean, then it's, you know, clear cut, and we would just check it in.
Okay, now, as far as verifying the issue, maybe this is on a genius by genius level, but let's say I'm having an issue and I go to the Apple support forums and I find, here's a thread where people are having the exact same issue. Is there an advantage to printing that out and bringing with me and saying, hey, this is happening in the forums, or am I just going to seem overbearing? I mean, is that information useful?
It can be useful. I mean, typically, if there's enough people, I mean, people only go to the forums with problems. That's one thing everyone should be aware of. But if it's something that enough people are talking about, it's probably something that we're aware of already. Like, for example, when the original MacBooks came out, a lot of them had a shutdown problem. It was like a heating problem. So if you went to the Apple forums at that time, it was all over the place. And we were aware of the issue too. So certainly print that out and bring it in to us. But for the most part, if it's all over the forums, you know, the genius should know
about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so beyond the Apple hardware test, is there anything else someone can do at home to maybe start the troubleshooting process, try to figure out what's going on?
Well, certainly if, like, for example, problems occurred right after you upgraded to Leopard or upgraded, you know, to Adobe CS3, you know, then you might want to look at the problems being related to what you recently
And if it is a third-party product like CS3, you might want to check out those forums too. See if something's going on there.
I mean, if it appears to be a hardware issue, you know, where things aren't working, freezing, locking up, losing power, I mean, like you said, you could run the Apple hardware test. You could run your own stress test, which we would do, where you basically launch all the applications. You basically set the computer not to sleep and just let it run overnight and see what happens.
Let's talk a little bit about the logs, because I don't know that everybody knows what that is, where to find them, and the kind of information you can get from that.
Sure. Well, I mean, basically everything you do with your computer, every click, mouse click, every application you open goes in, generates a log file, and it goes into the system log. And a lot of it is, even for Mac geniuses, it's a lot of mumbo jumbo. If you look at it, you're not going to be able to tell what exactly the problem is. But an engineer probably could, but not your typical Mac genius. But you can look for certain keywords. For example, when there was a power issue, or if we would search power or shutdown search the system log for those words, they would typically pop up. And especially if someone said, "Yeah, this shut down an hour ago," and you do a search for shutdown or power, and you could see an hour ago it shut down. So your average user, and your average Mac genius isn't going to be able to decipher the log 100%.
But there might be sometimes something that's going to tip you off or give you another thing to search for somewhere else.
It might point you in the right direction, basically.
Wonderful. We're going to point you in the right direction back here for another edition of Root Access soon. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.